tell me what panel you're here to see.
It's Pixel to Props.
Why are you going to the Pixels to Props panel?
Costumes are really the reason I go to conventions. That would be the whole reason to go for me. I don't care about playing the games or anything, just dressing up, acting like I'm famous for one day, and then I can remove it and everyone leaves me alone. Well, I've been a huge fan of Volpin Props. I follow him on Facebook, and he's just got some really intelligent ways to make stuff, and yeah, it seemed like you get some tips from him and it might work out.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to our panel from Pixels to Props, creating realistic gaming replicas. We are going to talk to you about taking stuff from the digital world, bringing it out right here onto your table. Really quickly, we're going to go through some introductions, let you know who we have up here. Then we're going to go through, tell you everything that we thought was relevant. Okay, one thing I do have to apologize for, we don't have a remote, so we're going to have to say next slide a lot, because the guys over there are running it for us, thank you. So we're going to have to do kind of a pointing thing there. So next slide, please.
We forgive you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Hello, my name is Bill Doran, and I hail from punishedprops.com. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I made all that stuff.
Hi guys, I'm Zander Brandt from zprops.net, and I've been doing this a year full time, and yeah, as you can see, I make stuff too.
My name is Krix. I run a little business thing called Volpin Props. I've been doing this for about 3-4 years or so, and on screen are some of the things that I've made.
Hey, I'm Munson. I'm building a Batmobile, and that's my first R2-D2 up there. And I've also done a couple things from Arkham City, Arkham Asylum. And I've been doing this for about, 20 years as either a hobbyist or quasi-professional.
Okay, so kind of a brief overview. This is everything we're going to touch on. Some of this we're going to have to go through really quickly because we only have an hour. And what we'll have for you afterwards is a place where you can download our presentation, a lot of the notes, a lot more information that we're going to be able to touch on here. If everybody could, if you have any questions or anything, we'll save those to the end. We'll do a little Q&A session. But we're going to have to blast through this stuff pretty quickly. Each one of us has a different section we're going to talk about, and so we're going to pass it around. These are our topics. If there's anything you guys have that you would like to explore a little bit more in depth, make sure to download the PDF afterwards, and that should cover a lot more questions.
No heckling.
No heckling. So,
and
okay.
there is stuff that we definitely won't have time to cover. For example, mold making didn't make the list because we could do an entire 2-hour panel on mold making. But that will... Next year, mold making 101.
Okay.
Safety, I heard someone yesterday say safety was second after science, but safety when you're in your shop making stuff should come first. And there are a lot of common knowledge things that most people learn in shop class. I hope most of you went to shop class. But if you didn't, keep the pointy things away from you and don't wear a tie around anything that's rotating.
I think that's the only time shop class ever had a woo.
So there are a couple of things that are specific to prop making that we wanted to highlight because there are a lot of unseen dangers in the shop that you want to discuss. Is there another slide on there?
No, it's just that one.
Okay, so the 3 things that were up there are the 3 things you should definitely spend the money on, and it's not even that much money. The most important, I think, is probably the respirator, the 3M respirator right there. You can get that from a hardware store. It's about 30 bucks. And the inserts, the filters on them, I think are 15 bucks-ish. And you want to use those and replace them when they say you should.
They're cheaper than new ones. I mean, that's the main point here.
But you'll be using things like spray paint and sanding MDF, which apparently is really toxic.
Okay, I should note one other thing. The lady with the pink hair here is our moderator, and she's going to be stabbing us with a knife if we go over time on something.
All right. So respirator is invaluable. Also on there are gloves. You can get all kinds of really cheap gloves, like from a gardening store, leather gloves for heat, and so that you can protect yourself from smaller non-mechanical blades. And then safety goggles right there. And even if you have glasses like I do, these don't really count. Actual legitimate safety goggles are a must for the shop.
Okay, so the next section is also yours.
Yes.
Go.
Starting a project, picking your project, whatever it is that you want to make, You may be really, you have this like the Batman tumbler, maybe you really want to make that, but it's probably not the best place to start if you're new to it. A sword from Zelda might be more up your alley. It's cheaper, it's easier to make look good, and a lot less mechanical stuff. Next slide. Something else that you can do that's a really good place to start is to get something that's already made and refinish it or rebuild it or modify it. There's a huge Nerf modding community out there that you might want to look into. The one on the left is a cheapo toy gun I got for a couple bucks, and then I painted it with some rub and buff to look like metal. And the one on the right, those are each kits. Those are ones that I made, but you can either contact someone on the RPF who makes a kit, and you can get one and sand it and paint it yourself. And those are both great places to start. The tools that you already have or the tools that you're willing to buy will influence what it is you're going to make. Sometimes there's a project where you need a laser cutter and you don't have one. You can't do that project yet.
Well, you can. We'll touch on that a little bit later in outsourcing.
Yeah, but unless you have access to it.
Right.
But the basic tools, hand saws, mechanical or cheap tools you can get from the hardware store, if that's all you have, that will dictate what projects you can work on. Next slide, please. Budget for time and money are super important. And my main point here is you want to set a limit, especially on money, because that's a rabbit hole that you can jump down and never finish project but keep pouring money into it. And you don't want to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of get stuck there. They'll bite off a little bit more than they can chew, try to make a Batman tumbler, realize that they've lost a couple $100,000, and then get very aggravated and stop. That's an example, kind of extreme, but people like to make Halo suits, and they always get about 3/4 of the way through, and it's not the way they want it. And starting with smaller projects, you're going to be a lot more fulfilled when it actually comes to fruition. You'll be better set up to do the next thing.
Mm-hmm. And then time is especially important to budget if you're building a project for, let's say, a convention. For example, let's say you want to build a Hawk costume from Dragon Age, and you have a month before PAX, and you think, that's plenty of time. I totally won't be up at 4 in the morning the night before PAX, hot gluing my hand together. You will. So budget your time and then double it if you have a goal in mind for when you want to finish something. Next slide, please. So starting, the very first place you want to start when you have a project picked out is finding your reference material and having good high-resolution images of the project.
Of my props.
Of all of your props.
If you Google Mass Effect rifle, you're going to end up with a dozen photos of my guns.
Which is really great if you want to make a Mass Effect pistol. Harrison has already made, or a pistol is made.
And you did pistol.
The rifle, he already took wonderful reference images, so you can just take his images. But there are lots of other people, like on the RPF, who have already taken pictures of their finished projects. You can use those images, nice high-resolution images, as references for your project. Next slide, please.
By the way, do you guys all know what he means when he says the RPF? It's a forum, replica props forum online.
Excellent place to start out.
Yeah, it is the place to start. It's called thereplicapropforums.com. And this links like that will be in the PDF that we're going to make available at the end. So, the Windows snipping tool and the print screen button on your keyboard are super valuable for grabbing stills from video, or if you want to just grab whatever's on your screen. For example, that's a YouTube video that I just went and dragged a little thing around it and grabbed that image. Again, if you're doing video, highest resolution possible, and grab your cinematic videos that way, or images. Next slide, please. One of the very best ways for a video game to get reference images is if that game or engine has a model viewer. So for Source games, it's amazing. They have the Source SDK, which is free, and any game that you have installed on your computer that was built in the Source engine, you can go and look at all of the models in three-dimensional space. And you can turn it around, you can take screenshots from each side of it. There are other third-party model rippers. This one's called 3D Ripper DX. They're a lot less reliable, but if it's your only option, it's a good thing to try out if you want to get more reference images directly from the engine, from in-game. Next slide, please. Art books, and if you dig a little deeper and find the concept artist that worked on the video game that you're trying to emulate, often they have portfolio websites with really, really cool, really detailed images, and that's another really good place to start. Really, really. Next, please. Once you have your reference images, the best thing that I think I do, and I know Harrison does this, is to take that and translate it into two-dimensional vector drawings. These are drawn in Inkscape, which is a free vector program like Adobe Illustrator, but if you have Corel or any of those other ones, you draw it out in 2D space the way you're going to build it, and then have it printed out full scale. If you don't have a printer big enough, you can go to some place like Kinko's, and they have giant printers, and it's actually pretty cheap to get a black and white line drawing printed out of something. I printed out things that are like 4 feet tall. And you use those as a physical reference once you start cutting out all of your pieces.